And now, for your viewing pleasure, I've got the President-elect of your Student Council, Andrew Schuschu. Mr. Schuschu, it's wonderful to have you on the program.
Nice to meet you.
I've probably never met you before, exactly.
Yeah.
But I hear you do good things.
That's good.
For instance, you just won the election. Tell us about that.
The election was interesting. There was initially about 8 to 9 people who were going to run for the different offices, for the offices of president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. But what ended up happening was about 5 or 6 of those people ended up dropping out. I ran with Maya Silko for vice president, Malat Sayom for treasurer, and Kate Lally for secretary. So the only competition, or the actual only contested election, ended up being for vice president. It was between Maya Silko and Sam Nix, who was on the program before.
That's right.
And it was a really close election. Maya ended up winning by about 20 votes, so it was actually one of the closest elections in Clark history.
Now, do we do the electoral college here? Do we have like representatives that we elect to vote for people?
No, it's
we should do that.
Interesting.
So this is a true democracy then?
Right. It's a straight majority vote. Right. So whoever gets 50% plus 1 vote ends up winning their office.
Oh, that's pretty great. So you ran, well, it sounds like you ran on a ticket. Is that typical? Like you had a number of people with whom you were running? Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like all for themselves? Or?
Well, theoretically, the way that tickets work is that it helps more unknown candidates get more publicity, and it helps if you're interested in associating yourself with another person and working with them in the future, it's good to campaign together so that the student body can understand who the people are who will be coming into office together. But the way it actually turns out in reality, the way that the voting works, is that each person still has to win their own election. So votes aren't pooled. So vote, for me, doesn't also count for the person on my ticket running for secretary or treasurer. So it's mainly just for publicity and for getting the word out about the election and encouraging people to vote, which is the most important thing when it comes to elections.
Do we know what the turnout rate for voting is here?
Traditionally, in non-e-board elections, it's about 20 or 15%. It's rather
That's
low.
almost America.
Almost.
But we won't talk about America on this program.
Mm-hmm.
Though we love America. America's great. Sorry, I was captured with my own wit there. I had to think about my next question. So, would you run with Joe Biden as your vice president?
For Clark
Undergraduate Student Council.
I'm sure he would have great things to offer. However, I don't believe he qualifies as an undergraduate student. And if at his age and in his current position he still was, I believe that might discourage me, in fact, from running with him.
Right on. All right, let's talk about what's happening with the Student Council these days. What's something that you've done recently?
Recently, we actually, as the chairman of the finance committee, we recently audited all 90 student groups.
All 90 student groups?
Yeah.
That's a lot of paperwork.
A lot of paperwork, right. Through the audit process, what we do is that we make sure student groups all their spending, their expenditures are within the confines of our Constitution and their constitutions and their charters, and within the limitations of our bylaws. The certain bylaws are stating that at this point your clubs have to have spent some money. They had to spend less than 40% on travel, because we want to encourage events here on campus as opposed to events away from campus. And also one of the things that we encourage is that student groups spend less than 25% on food and food-related expenses. Because we'd rather have people bring speakers to campus and have events and have it less so that groups are just buying food for their meetings. We want to make sure that groups are putting on events that that everybody on campus is able to attend. And that's the main spirit of the audit process, is to kind of find the groups that aren't, really bringing the programming to campus that they should be. However, the audit process exists as a bit of a litmus test, meaning that traditionally, like groups such as like Hillel or Food Truth or campus accountability and certain like sustainability groups, they'll often overspend on food, but that food is directly related to the culture of the group and the meaning of the group and the actual events that they bring on campus. Food Truth has like huge Thanksgiving events and other events throughout the year, and they're all related to buying sustainable and local food products. And so we traditionally waive the requirements in the cases of those groups because they're doing what they're supposed to do. Right.
Do you think you should get them for something else then? If you can't get like that certain percentage for the food, you should be like, oh, you're spending too much on, I don't know, party decorations. I don't know.
We don't have a set limit on advertising or decorations. It's traditionally not something that's come up.
Chess Club has been doing a lot of advertising lately. I think you might want to look into that. Stuff upcoming in the future. Near future, like between now and May. What do you got going on?
Me and my fellow e-board elect members are going to be taking office on April 11th. And one of the first issues that we're going to have to take up, and the first thing that's going to be kind of hitting the student body, is that there's going to be a referendum vote on two issues. There's the issue of the Green Fund and the Student Venture Capital Project. Both programs are asking for $10,000 to $20,000, and they would be structured as a group of students and a few members of student council sitting on an advisory committee or an advisory board of some sort. And then those committees would then be allocating money to sustainability projects, to different green projects on campus, such as buying more recycling bins and such. For the Student Venture Capital Project, it would be investing in projects such as the Green Roof or the Thrift Store or anything that's come out of the Eureka Project that's also been on campus for a while. However, one of the effects of that is that they're asking for money to be taken from the Student Activities Fee Fund, and that fund goes to funding student groups. So that's why we're bringing it forward to the student body, because as long as that $30,000 ends up being allocated to these groups and these advisory committees, that would decrease the amount of money that goes to clubs by about 10 to 20%. So that has a direct effect on all student groups. So we want to make sure that students approve of this, and this is something that they want to bring to campus, and we want to make sure that everybody realizes the kind of the long-term effects and the kind of the reach that these committees would have and how they would affect other programs on campus.
Right. So now that the sun's been coming out, you're not going to be doing any slacking off, are you? You're going to be like, woo, it's the end of the year. We're good. We're going to do this one thing and then take off. We'll do it next year. We'll be fine.
One of the end of the year for student council is actually one of the busiest times. It's always kind of tough, to deal with the great weather. But upcoming for the finance committee, we have the budget process for allocating club budgets for next year. So we actually got in yesterday about 92 requests from all student groups and new groups that have emerged over the either through the mid-semester budget process or simply through the semester. And what we're going to have to do is figure out how to allocate around $377,500 to these 92 groups. So for the next 3 to 4 weeks, that's going to be our project, is that we have to figure out what money is going to go to what groups. And traditionally, with the way that requests work, is that groups, if you put all the requests together, they'll amount to about 3 times what we have to allocate. So we have to go into the requests and cut out a large sum of money. It's always really painful and really contentious to do that, but it's one of the things we kind of have to do. That's the job of the finance committee. We'll also have a 2-week process where clubs are able to appeal our recommendations, and they'll able to come to finance committee and discuss with us as to why they want more or less money. Traditionally, more money. That's how it works. And then I believe on April 4th, about either April 4th or April 11th, we will be bringing our recommendations to council for approval for the fiscal year for next year.
Right on. Good stuff, good stuff. Now, we've been talking a lot about student council, almost entirely about student council, but who are you? Who is Andrew Schuschu to these people? Why do they care? Why do they care about who you are? You're some guy, you sit in a fancy chair and you bang the gavel maybe.
I mean, I think you have a better chair than me right now.
That's right, because we're in my domain, sir. But tell us a little about yourself. Where do you come from? Where are your humble beginnings?
I grew up in Berea, Ohio. It's a small, rural, semi-industrial town in north central Ohio. It's right on the cusp between the steel industry and the auto industry of Cleveland and the kind of like the rural agricultural district of Ohio. So I have a real simple-minded upbringing. I love the country. Country music is one of my favorite things. I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers, 14 aunts and uncles, and 28 cousins.
Wow.
So family's always been important to me. We always try to get together at least once a month and have some sort of event, and that's always great because we get together at my grandparents' house out in the country and just have a good time, barbecue, listen to music, get to know each other better.
It's pretty great. So you're a family man then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You're from Ohio, and Ohio, of course, has the highest number of universities and colleges in the nation. Why did you come to Worcester, Massachusetts?
I definitely wanted to change. Also, my sophomore year here at Clark, I joined the outing club, and I became the treasurer, and then eventually this year I served as the president for about 2 months before I became more involved in student council as the chair of the finance committee. And one of the main reasons that I came to New England was for the mountains. I love camping, backpacking, whitewater rafting, anything that gets me outside. So one of my goals was to climb every mountain in the presidential range up in New Hampshire. And I climbed about 3 of them, so I need to get definitely back out there and get some more this summer.
Definitely. You can allocate some of the budget and get yourself a little club, a little outing club. Anyway. Well, I think that's about all the time we have, but thank you for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, Andrew Schuschu, ladies and gentlemen. We might see you again sometime. You'll be president next year, and this year and then next year, but anyway, all right. We'll be back after this.